incredible one for you guys here. It is the round of 64. We have two very, very strong Protoss players in this particular game, which starts off on Belshir Vestige, and I will let you know who they are right about now. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of the map as the red Protoss player. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most recognizable StarCraft pro players in the whole of StarCraft 2. I'm pleased to say we are casting Whiterah. And his opponent, who is playing for Team Property, spawning as the pink Protoss in the top left-hand corner. Very strong Grandmaster player hailing from Sweden. What can he do against the special tactics of Whiterah? We'll find out in just a moment. It is Runa.
Now, Runa I know pretty well actually, because I've done a lot of stuff with Team Property. They're a really solid EU team, and Runa is one of their best players. He's actually one of their ace players, and he did incredibly well in a team, basically friendly match between Property and Copenhagen Wolves. So therefore, I think he's definitely in with a good shot here. It's a PvP after all, which means that really anything can happen. It can get very volatile. Whiterah, I'm trying to think. I haven't seen any of his PvP games recently. I'm not sure if you have, Jorasa.
I haven't at the moment, I'm afraid. Very recently. I know that earlier on, in the beta, for example, Whiterah was playing a lot of show matches, doing a lot of fun stuff, but I think his play of late, since game release, has just sort of steadied itself down. He's not doing too much crazy stuff compared to before, as the metagame slowly works itself out here. And since that's happened, I haven't seen too many of his games, so I'll be very interested to see how he plays this out.
It should be absolutely brilliant. I cannot wait to see what happens. I mean, currently though, both players grabbing up their second gas, so going to be going relatively tech heavy. That could mean anything from DT play, which we saw earlier in a PvP. It could also be various other things, such as, well, Whiterah, we all know he likes his Stargate openings. That's always a good amount of fun. And Stargate is a lot more viable against the DT opening, as long as you keep your Oracle back ready for the Envision. So got to keep an eye out for that, because it's something that can throw some pro players off, and really any Protoss player, to be honest. So that is what could be on the cards. There's loads of other options, and really speculating without a lot more information can be exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, it's I mean, PvP, there's not, you're gonna have to find at least one player trying to go aggressive early on. It's not, I would say it's a little bit less normal in a PvP where both players sort of sit back and be passive. You typically see an aggressor and a defender, especially in HOTS, with a mothership core attached to that usually. So I expect one of these players to start aggressively moving out across the map, putting down some scouting pylons a little bit later on, with the other trying to hold on and possibly attempting to get an earlier expansion. That just seems to be the way this mirror matchup is being played out these days.
So we've just got Whiterah throwing down his Stargate. Meanwhile, Runa getting a mothership core and his expansion. So literally, just as you said, that's what's going to be happening. And Whiterah has been a fan of going Stargate since, well, the beta. He's been very, very active with that. Also,
he loves oracles, man.
He loves them. And I think what's also worth noting is, actually, Whiterah was one of the first Protoss players, in my opinion, that I feel really got to grips and understood the power of the mothership core. So I think this is going to be really interesting to see how these two play out. Whiterah currently sending a Stalker across the map and also chucking down a proxy pylon.
Although I must say, interestingly, it's actually Whiterah's opponent, as opposed to Whiterah here, who's attempting to make expand and defense it. So we'll see if that ends up to come back to haunt Runa here. Now note that this natural expansion is, once you get up the ramp, there's a decent concave here, so there's a lot of open ground to cover. Force fields post-ramp just aren't that effective in the defense for Runa here, but perhaps he's just looking to wait until there is a 100 energy account on that mothership core, at which point he'd be able to put down Photon Overcharge on his Nexus and hopefully stop it from going down.
So we've got two Stalkers happily chipping away at this Nexus. Obviously, Runa can't move out yet with only a Zealot and 2 sentries in the mothership core. It'd be a bit dangerous to do so. But now with 3 gateways, he can warp in a decent amount of units. Good pylon position allows him to get 3 Stalkers on the low ground. And now Whiterah will be forced back, only dealing shield damage, trying to play a little bit of trees while taking his own Nexus immediately behind this.
Oh, and as soon as we get into game, I've had like 2 different players say, "Hey, we're ready now. Do you guys need a game?"
Yep, I got that too.
Daisy's ready now as well, unfortunately. So we're not going to get to see too much of that, but I'm asking if we might be able to pop and join the mid-series, for example, or next time around. That Nexus needs to be a little bit careful with that because all the shields have now gone from a good force field trying to pick apart a single Stalker, able to get that down, and Runa looking like he should be able to hold on to this comfortably.
Yep, he should be fine. White just running around with those Phoenix, but as you quite rightly said, Runa not having many problems here. We do still have that proxy pylon allowing some quick warp-ins of these Stalkers coming across, so White clearly being the aggressor, having the map dominance. If we look at the vision for Runa, he really is pretty much blind about what is going on with White, except that he does know that the Nexus is coming down, and that is probably the most important thing.
Yes, the Nexus. Oh wow, nice pickups there of the Stalkers. White going to try and pick apart the rest of this army. The one of the sentries going down as well. Really cool micro there, trying to stop the Stalkers doing too much damage, just delaying them with the Phoenixes so we can get a few more kills before leaving. Great play there from White.
Really solid. That's the sort of special tactics that we like to see. It's a way that not many people use Phoenix, and I think that's a really effective way to use them, especially early game. Runa is now. He has now got up his Twilight Council. Get it right. He's also got his robotics facility. Blink is getting researched, so he's just really going for a very mobile Stalker force. Meanwhile, White just starting up his robotics facility back in his own base.
That's right. So we've got Twilight Tech coming out for Runa, and Stargate Tech coming out from White. So a difference of opinion here in this PvP already, and more Phoenixes popping out. That's going to bring the total for White up to 6. So he's really looking to invest heavily in this area. He needs to make sure that it does a really nice supporting role for his army, because in the late game, for instance, you can often find Phoenixes, especially when there's a massive ground army there. You need to make sure they're not completely zoned out.
Yeah, that is always something to be careful of. White is transitioning into those Void Rays. We've got the Forge coming down as well here for Runa, which is a lot earlier than what's coming down at the moment for White, who isn't getting any upgrades for the time being, or doesn't seem to be, which means that later game it could be a problem. White also getting out an Observer pretty quickly and pretty early on, just so he can know what is happening. The Phoenix trying to dart in, deal a little bit of damage, but good defense by Runa, who's really holding this off incredibly well, having only lost a single worker this entire game.
And here come the gateways in the main base from Runa. He's going to go up to 6 gateways now inside his main. The Stalkers at the natural, preventing those Phoenixes from doing any extra damage. Great use, leaving those Stalkers in the mineral line there. And once Blink is complete as well, these Phoenixes will not be able to get any worker kills at all.
Nope, this is, well, really shut down hard. We also got the Hallucinated Phoenix for Runa coming through, getting a full scout out on what White is doing. That is so important for him. We'll also see that the Void Ray is in construction from that Stargate. That in itself is an important thing to spot. White with an Immortal popping out. Will the Hallucinated Phoenix see it? Yes, it will. So now all of the build that White is trying to execute has been revealed, and now Runa can adjust appropriately.
I just realized something really unbelievable here. Nick, take a look at the natural expansion of White. Look closely at the Immortal. Keep watching it. Do you see that? Immortals can look up. It occasionally looks up. It chooses not to attack air. When it's sitting around, occasionally the guns just flick up and down again. I swear Immortals can shoot air, and they're just trying not to.
They don't want the extra responsibility, basically. Let's face it. They're like,
they're pretending, man.
Definitely pretending. So what we have got now is a move out from Runa. He's coming across the map. He's got a lot of Stalkers. Blink is done. He's also going to have charge finish by the time he gets over, and he's got +1 Protoss ground weapons complete. He's got +2 on its way, so he's got a nice upgrade advantage. He's got some really good upgrades with Blink and charge, and could potentially be quite effective. Unfortunately though, the Void Ray count is starting to climb ever higher, and we all know just how strong Void Rays are.
This really is the story of this game so far. White only on 46 workers, 48 now to 61 of Runa, and he has not invested at all in upgrades, ladies and gentlemen. He is at 0 upgrades, but he has a massive amount of army. So we'll see if the Void Rays, for instance, can...
Well, they're ripping through everything by the Watchtower right there. Wow, so much damage done.
Oh, and a mass recall used on something that really isn't so mass, only saving the Mothership Core and nothing else there. In the middle of the map is Runa, and yeah, I think White seems to have made the correct decision here. Runa is really struggling to deal with the army from White right now. And even though there are absolutely no upgrades from White whatsoever, those Void Rays are just doing an incredible amount. But what he has to be careful of is he can't keep this up forever. Once they get to a point where, for example, they're both getting close to max out, those upgrades from Runa are going to come in very, very handy indeed. Right now, White Ra has a great numbers advantage, but that's not going to be there forever, so he really should use a timing if he's got one.
Yeah, with the obviously extended thermal lance coming out, the first Colossus on the field, White Ra is still looking though to start upgrading. He's getting 2 forges down, so knows that he needs to catch up with that, because actually Runa nearly finished +2 ground weapons. That is where the upgrade advantage does start to become very substantial. In terms of army supply, 69 to 66, very close indeed.
Yeah, it's not, there's not quite the difference it once was. Runa able to sort of get back and regather his forces right now. The problem is the vast majority of his forces are Stalkers, and those Void Rays do a ridiculous amount of damage to them. So Runa's strategy for a potential upcoming engagement has to be something along the lines of blink forward and attack high-value units. But White Ra's composition is so strong against Stalkers. Well, if you blink forward and try and take out the Void Rays, what about the Immortals that are shooting you this entire time? There are 3 Immortals with this army. What about the Colossus? It's going to do a lot of damage. It looks like we're about to find out at the 3rd base as Maddles. Oh, dear me. Are you okay, mate?
I am fine. What went wrong there? Did everything go pretty funky?
You lagged for about a second. Not really sure why. And then Runa said 5A, so we can guess what he is going for. And, oh dear, looks like a little bit more lag from Maddles.
That is really peculiar. Seems to be better now.
I hope so, because the players were almost ready to engage there. Fortunately, not in the middle of a battle or anything like that. We'll keep an eye out on that situation. Of course, we don't want to affect things for the players too much. Out of White Ra on the right-hand side, warping in a bunch of Zealots to try and take out this 4th base from Runa here, but the Stalkers immediately blinking back and engaging them. Not going to be a problem whatsoever, and this pylon is going to go down as well. White Ra, though, moving forward through the center of the map.
White Ra slowly muscling his way through the map here. Of course, those Void Rays, even though there's only 4 of them, they can deal an exceptional amount of damage very quickly indeed. White Ra, got to be careful. I think he'd be wise waiting until his 1-1 upgrades are complete just to level out that upgrade slightly more, because otherwise he could run himself into a little bit of problems.
Oh my goodness. I've actually just taken a look at the view of the person you told me to look at. Basically, there are a lot of casters in this game, guys, and I was just looking through the view of one of the other observers in this game who's obviously obsing for some stream. I don't know which one. And you're right, I just hopped onto his vision for about 5-6 seconds in the middle of that mini engagement, and I'm already motion sick. That guy like has 6 location hotkeys and is jumping. He's basically playing like he's a GM player as opposed to a caster or an observer, and I'm so glad I switched back to Nick, because I was this close to being ill.
Yeah, Nick is a lot more relaxed, I think it's fair to say. Just taking it slow and steady, looking at all the important information. And the important information here is that Runa has got a proxy pylon coming down by the 4th base attempt of White Ra. So White Ra going to come over and deny that fairly easily. Also, we'd see though the Runa is taking his own 4th base. So this is now very much into late game PvP, which is not something we get blessed enough to see often.
Now, late game PvP, I have to say, White Ra has a big advantage in unit composition here. He had those Colossi out early. He's got 6 of them with his army, 3 Immortals as well, and he's got Void Rays. So much good stuff with this late game composition coming out of here from White Ra, and Runa predominantly still has gateway units, so potentially this could fail horrendously for him, but Runa has such a sick upgrade advantage. White Ra is at 1-1, and +3 is already complete with armor on the way from Runa. And here we go, the engagement coming over here on the left-hand side of the map. Great storm action in all of these units, but we need more than one. There's a second one, and a third. And actually, I'm beginning to think these storms are playing a massive role in this fight. White Ra not dodging the storms at all when he desperately needs to. Still 3 Colossi here, and the time warp goes down, but really, White Ra's not looking to escape at all. Oh god, this is so close. But White Ra had a really good composition. This didn't need to be close.
It didn't need to be close. Those storms, well, they were Hearthstone level storms. That's how good they were. And GG. White Ra, GG's out. So Runa takes the first map in this best of 3. That was very